In this video, I'm going to give you 5 foods that I think you should be eating if you want to lose body fat. These are foods that I use during all of my cuts. Whenever I want to lose body fat, I implement a lot of these foods and a lot of these strategies, not only to mitigate hunger, but to get the most bang for my buck nutritionally, but also just like sustain and give myself the nutrition needed to like feel good, train well, and ultimately perform at a high level. Number 1 is going to be Captain Obvious, lean protein. Now, there's more to protein than just it builds muscle. Protein is also the most satiating macronutrient that we have. It can keep you fuller for longer. That's also because it has a higher thermic effect of feeding, which means it takes more calories to burn protein than any other like macronutrient. It's really important to get about 1 gram per pound of body weight. And even if you wanted to play with that a little bit, you could maybe go up, 10% or so if you really suffered with that hunger, and just watch how the protein actually like curbs off your hunger. Chicken, lean fish, protein yogurt, anything that comes from an animal product is going to be a complete protein, and those are the types of proteins that you should be aiming for. They're going to help you build muscle, sustain muscle, but also keep you fuller for longer. The next thing is going to be to swap your cream of rices, your rices, and anything that is rice-based in your diet for things that maybe are more grain-based. That might be oats, that might be quinoa, that might be potatoes. If you take 400 grams of potatoes, there's about 75 grams of carbohydrates in there. If you take 100 grams of cooked rice, there's about 75 grams of carbohydrates in there, depending on what rice you have. The volume difference that you'll see is completely different. And when we're thinking about satiety, which is something that you should be thinking about on a deficit, satiety being how full does something make you feel, there is an actual index that you can follow. A real simple thing that you can do is type into Google satiety index, rate like ratings, and it will literally have in order from the most satiating food that you can eat to the least satiating. And it will be no surprise to you that the ones that are the least satiating, processed sugars, those foods that are super simple to get, the cookies, the cereals, the honeys, and all the processed sugars. So it's important to try and lean towards those less processed, those more single ingredient foods, because they'll keep you fuller for longer, and of course, the nutrition as well. So for me, one of the things that I always do is swap my rice straight out for potatoes. I swap my cream of rice straight out for oats. Those 2 swaps immediately keep me fuller for longer. Give it a go. They also have a little bit more fiber, which is great for keeping you fuller for longer. And let me know how you get on with those. The next thing is going to be vegetables and leafy greens. It seems pretty obvious, but again, if you think about how many calories are in a big bowl of salad or a big bowl of broccoli, considerably less than the carbohydrate counterpart. But there's a little bit more fiber, there's a little bit more nutrition. The one thing I wouldn't get carried away with is taking away too many carbohydrates in your diet and putting them all towards vegetables and leafy greens. You might find you have some gastric issues, some digestion issues, but it is important to have a widespread variety of diet and finding vegetables that work for you. They are going to help you keep you fuller for longer, but also again, the nutrition. The reason why I go on about nutrition so much is because we are in a hypocaloric place, which means that we may be going hyponutritional, right? Which means we might not be getting the full nutrition that we want. This is why we switch to foods that perhaps get a bit more bang for your buck, because when you're in off season, eating all this amount of food, you get a considerable amount more nutrients of that food, even if it's not as good food, and you don't need to worry about malnutrition as much. So that's why I leave on that. So the next thing is going to be controversial: 0-calorie drinks. I really believe that if you sip on one of those over 45 minutes, the taste, the carbonation, just the fact of having that flavor will take your mind away for a little bit longer in between meals. I don't think you should go and have one between every single meal, maybe 1 or 2 a day. If you don't have gastric issues, there's no reason why not. Sweetener or not, all the studies show that they are absolutely safe. I choose 0-calorie drinks mostly, 0-calorie Sprite. You know what, in Canada it's rubbish, but 0-calorie Sprite, 0-calorie Coke, all of those ones. Gatorade is one of the things that I use quite a lot as well. And leaning into those as a source of like flavor to tide you over to the next meal. And that is how it is, because you are supposed to be hungry and you're supposed to want to eat in between those meals. So it is important that you have those techniques and things in place that can tide you over to the next meal. The final thing is going to be getting more bang for your buck out of your protein. And what do I mean by that? It means don't just drink your whey protein, make a mug cake or make a Ninja Creamy. It means don't necessarily just eat 200 grams of chicken like that on its own. Maybe make a full skyr yogurt bowl and have 400 grams of yogurt for the same amount of protein. Maybe a little bit of carbohydrates, but start to think about options that you can put in that give you the same amount of macros or a similar amount of macronutrient calorie density, but just maximize that volume. It's all about volume. It's all about periodizing your food across the day and just keeping that tank topped up throughout the day and not leaving yourself short. So as a little bonus tip here, guys, plan your days out, stick to a routine. And if you do want to bend the routine a little bit, try and do it in a position when you're enjoying the moment and making memories. So if you enjoyed this type of content, if you enjoyed this video, guys, drop a like, drop a comment. If you find yourself that you struggle with getting a hold of a lot of these things and a lot of these tactics, you can book in for a free discovery call with me. I work one-to-one with clients all over the world online to maximize their results, what they can achieve. I make them believe in themselves. I give them the information that they might well be missing. We give them the accountability to glue it all together. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, hit the link in the bio. I can't wait to talk to you. So guys, peace and love. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.